Okay, you want me to start?
Yeah, you
Wait,
got it.
say the topic for recording.
Well, I have Infinity Technique Johan, and then this guy just has Perfect Body Daniel.
Mastered Ultra Instinct UI Daniel.
What does Master do mean?
That was so
Oh, is it-
badass.
Oh wait, what?
The way you
template is it?
enunciated that was so badass.
Oh, yours just says Ultra Instinct Perfect Body Daniel. Normally that's
Yeah.
the picture they use for quote unquote mastered. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, because like
Yeah,
the only
UI
thing
Daniel.
Master would do is just allow him to bypass the fucking counter. It doesn't do anything for his stats.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Okay, are you fine with Johan's Kinetic base gun?
Like injured base gun, yeah.
Johan was more injured than.
Why?
He just stated he was barely basically able to stand, yeah. And then before
Yeah,
that, the fight,
inferior endurance is not correlative to inferior force output. Like gun has a broken arm. That arm just cannot punch as hard. Trivially.
no, obviously, right, when your arm just breaks, then physically speaking, you're not going to be able to output the same amount of power. But then, endurance is in the fight stated to be something which just correlates to your fighting ability. When you take damage and then you're not able to endure, then your fighting ability just gets worse. We see it with Johan directly.
Wait, what is it? What does it say that he's rarely standing? I think I know what you're talking about with after the fight, where he's like, "Oh, I thought he reached it, but it was just willpower."
No, because he's not physically even able to stand, but he's just using willpower to basically stand that damage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, do we not think this willpower is bypassing whatever sort of nerfs he'd be getting from lack of endurance?
No, because his endurance is still something which is a problem, which is why he needs willpower to stand. But then he's just able to endure it further. Like it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if he is able to endure it via some means, I don't think the means itself matters.
Well, so you think if you can, like for example, like if I punch your head and then, like it hurts very badly and you get some concussive damage from that, and you're able to endure it, you think that's not an issue just because you endured that? You're still able to fight after that?
External to like the biological issues, like yeah.
No, because we see in the fight that even though he's able to endure damage prior to that, like when he was way less damaged than that, his performance still went down after that, after taking damage.
Is this prior to IT?
Yeah.
I think his
technique
willpower just grows out the fight.
Prove that?
He's closer to beating gun, closer to achieving his goal.
That doesn't tell me anything. No, hold on. Either way, when I think like willpower, I don't think willpower is the same as endurance, though. No.
Well, I think functionally they are the same, in the sense that you're just ignoring injuries that you have for whatever given reason.
No, endurance is just literally pain tolerance, right? And then, given pain tolerance, your ability to actually, how you react during pain or how you carry yourself during, like, the pain experiencing, that's different. That's exclusive, to that, no?
Well, no, I think you net the same sort of benefits in the sense that, again, you're ignoring whatever pain you might be feeling or tolerating said pain. It's just a different reason as to why you're doing so.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But either way, all I'm saying that, given damage and given that, given that damage and Johan's endurance there, we know that damage, even though you can endure it, will still nerf you badly. That's all I'm saying. I'm not sure if you can show me that his willpower grew, though.
Wait, in what sense, I guess what instance would you point to that shows us that damage that you're enduring nerfs you?
Sorry, what? Damaging or enduring nerf you?
Yeah, like external to like biological complications, like we brought up with Gun's broken arm.
Oh, we just see it with Johan in the fight. When he gets one hit from Gun, he just starts performing worse and worse and worse and worse, and then he just starts getting beat the fuck out of by Gun.
You were talking about when Gun's in the water and then they trade blows and then Gun starts putting belt ass.
Yeah, and then right before that, the same Johan was beating the fuck out of Gun. So
yeah,
the only
what would be
difference
the issue
there,
with Gun trying harder?
It's always incentivized to use your full power. That's the issue. I think I'll need a very strong base to say that the guy was holding back before.
He holds back in literally every fight. It's not retarded at all. He always does it.
No, he stops holding back in that fight and Hunt for Gun.
When
he says he's gonna kill people, what's up? Let's get it.
Wait, you don't think he can say he's gonna kill somebody while holding back?
I think
the strength gap is present whether he goes all out or not.
No, he can definitely hold back. And then we know that he actually held back there, but then we know that when he's trying to fight more lethally, he's going to be going more out. That's still a basis for me to say that he's going more out there.
Yeah, more all out than some held back state.
Given that, it's always incentivized to go all out anyway, I think it's just more likely to say that he went all out there.
Well, it's not always incentivized given the things that Gun values. He values close fights. He likes to take damage. He likes to get hit. That's why he doesn't dodge a lot of attacks.
No, but then the reason he says he's going to kill them is because he doesn't care about the close fight anymore. He's just trying to get it done.
No, he cares that they ran away and are robbing him of a close fight.
Yeah, Johan was there. He was literally part of that group.
Johan is not the one that ran away. It's Yusung.
He says he's gonna kill you, and then the guy who ran away, Yusung, it doesn't really matter because he still goes and tries to kill everyone around him anyway. So I
Yeah,
think that
that's
just
what I'm
connects
saying.
the
But
people who's
it's
fighting
still in
and
line
some
with his values to
forgot.
want close fights. He only has this sort of response when he is robbed of a close fight. So I think once he's able to get a close fight again, then I don't think it matters. We see him; he still has the
No,
same demeanor as always.
no, he's gonna hold on. Hold on. If he indexes that to the people in Hunt for Gun, if he gets a close fight, obviously he's gonna be happy. But then we know that his goal for the fight changed. All we know is that it switched there. We don't know if we switched back. If it switched back, all we know is that yeah, if he did get a close fight, yeah, he might as well enjoy it. But then besides that, right, he's still trying to get the red paper back. It's still his
Well,
main
both
goal
these
now.
goals are mutually inclusive. Then I don't think it creates any sort of issue, which
No,
they
it
are.
can't. No, obviously it is mutually inclusive if you can enjoy a fight while trying to finish it quickly. But then if the point is to finish it quickly, then he's still gonna go all out. So
Wait, what
he
about
might
this
be
makes you
going all
think he
out.
wants to finish it
Hold on, he
quickly?
might be going. Hold on, he says it. He's gonna kill you. That's the whole reason.
Wait, he says he's gonna kill them. I don't. Nothing speaks in reference to speed at all.
Uh, dude, if he's gonna run, sorry, if the guy is actually running away with the red paper, if he kills them slowly, then he's not gonna be able to get the red paper. That's the thing.
Well, if he kills him at all, he's gonna be able to get the red paper. You can't
Not Yusung. No,
transfer
Yusung is
red
running
paper
away.
where you die.
Yusung is running away.
Is he not one of the people he speaks in reference to killing?
Yeah, but then he has to fight these guys first. So that's why I'm talking about speed.
He fights Yusung before Johan.
Okay. I'm still saying that given that we still have more, it's still more in line for him
Okay,
to
so
try and kill
after he's
people
secured
quicker.
the red paper, then this motive is no longer present. He doesn't have to
But you don't
move at any
think
certain pace.
hold
He
on,
has possession of the red paper.
you don't think that's incentivized for him to just get it as quickly as possible?
No, I don't know if that would override pre-existing motives that we know he has.
I mean, hold on. No, he hasn't. All you told me before is that he has a motive to just, get close fights. I told you, okay, we know that his motive switched in this particular fight, index to the character he's fighting. And that might be inclusive to him enjoying a fight while it actually lasts. And then you say, okay, well, the guy actually loses his motive to kill people or kill them when he gets the red paper. But then I told you he indexes that to everyone anyway. He doesn't just index that to Yusung. That's the reason. Yusung always just had the red paper, but he's trying to kill these people as well.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But his motivation for wanting to kill these people, at least in a timely manner, right, is because Yusung is running away and is going to get away with the red paper. I'm saying once he has possession of the red paper, he no longer has any sort of motivation to stick to that goal, the secondary
Okay.
goal.
Okay, hold on. Why are we talking about time again? Because I'm gonna ask you a question.
We're talking about time because you were saying he was incentivized to beat them as fast as possible, so he probably
Okay,
would
yeah,
hold
that's what I
back.
said. Okay, hold on. Okay, so do you think it's okay? Besides, do you think trying to kill someone as quickly as possible is like index to you going allowed? Or do you think they're not inclusive?
Yeah, I think if it's as quick as possible, yes, I think you're going all out to some extent.
I mean,
Granted, you're
because
not drastically above these people. I don't think you have to do it in
no,
those
because
sorts of cases.
you can go ape shit and then just lose the fight because of that. That's what I'm saying. Like, when we see fights and look at them like that, nobody just goes ape shit. That's the thing that would allow you to end
What
the
do you
fight
what do you mean
quickly.
by go ape shit?
Like, just start swinging on people, and then, for example, like,
That's what I'm
honestly, if you
saying.
want to see,
I don't think he's gonna fight like discoordinated. I think he's just putting in maximal effort within like the confines of actual skill and strategy. Just how he
you think
always
he is?
fights.
You think he is?
Yeah, I mean that would follow. Granting, again, granting the gap between him and the people he's fighting is not super big. You'd have to be going all out.
Okay, that's a concession. That's a concession. We were talking
That's
about whether or not he goes
prior to the
all
motive
out on Johan.
change.
No, but
Yeah,
then,
that's
I'm
prior
telling
to
you
the motive
on.
change.
You're saying the thing is, you said it's not exclusive. Sorry, you said it's not inclusive to him doing it as quickly as possible. You're saying that okay, he might like if you try and kill these people and go all out, then that might correlate to you doing it faster, right? That's what you said. Or no, you said it's as fast as possible. What you said.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it has to be as fast as possible, but obviously there's going to be some correlation between speed and that sort of motivation.
Okay. So we don't have to talk about it whether or not it's as fast as possible. All I have to tell you is that it's more likely that he went all out, which I did.
Yeah, prior to any given motivation change, that's fine. I don't see how this
There's
line of
no
reasoning
the
follows to
motivation
the
change
motivation.
works in my favor. There's no motivation change after that. He got the red paper, but he's still trying to deliver it back to the guy, and he still says that the guy he wants to kill these
Yeah,
people.
but then there's no longer a time constraint.
Sure. Do you think that Han? Do you think that's inclusive to the statement that he said prior, which he wants to kill them? Like the reason he said it is because they just made him mad, and that madness because he got robbed of a close fight or a good fight. That still should be there. He still is mad. It's not because of time.
Well, Okay, he alleviates a sort of issue as to what is making him mad. He's mad because he's robbed of close fight. He alleviates that issue and he fights people that are competent. Immediately
No,
alleviates the issue.
no, hold on. So if I steal a cupcake from you and you love cupcakes, you will be still mad at me because I stole a cupcake from you. You will be still mad at me even
What
if
if I give my
someone else
cupcake
gives you a
back?
cupcake, right? No, you give a cupcake back, right? But then still you would be mad because you took it away prior to that. It's not reason to
Well,
not be mad
grant
at me. You're not like a fucking baby. You
to
don't
keep it
forget shit.
entirely. Well, to keep it entirely analogous, some group takes your cupcake and then gives you a cupcake back. I don't think the anger is going to be maintained to any meaningful extent.
Why? Because you're not like a
But
baby,
also,
dude.
say
You don't just forget shit.
if we speak, well, it's not that
You
it's
still
forgetting
use them
shit,
as
but
like some
it's
prank
that
hours.
it's that the sort of motivation there is almost entirely gone for one. For two, we already spoke in reference
why?
to the killing independent of anything else that does not have any sort of correlation to going all out at all.
No, because no, hon. All I told you is that one, it's just an inner. Hon, by the way, I need to repeat the first thing. But besides that, all I told you is that given that it's an inverse relationship, meaning when you go all out, you're always go. Sorry, when you go more out, you're always going to have a higher chance of actually winning the fight, rather than if you go less out, you're gonna have a lower chance of actually winning the fight. You always have that incentive. You always have a reason to go more out. Trivially, now present that with a reason for it to say, okay, well, he wasn't going all out prior to that, and now he goes more out now, and we don't have a reason to say that he wasn't going all out after that. We just have like holistically, we have more evidence to say that he is going all out against Johan as well. And then if you say, I
I'm
didn't
gonna
hear the
say he's
first
not
thing,
going
but
all out after that.
maybe hon, if you're saying that the motive is gone, the motive to kill them quickly might be gone, but he's still like again, unless you think that like he just forgets shit like a fucking infant, then no, he would still presumably be mad at these guys, especially at Johan. He
Yeah, but
indexes it to that.
all of the reasoning external to time is sort of contingent on the idea that anybody present actually scales the guy. So
Uh,
it's sort of circle back to the
not,
sort of thing
I'm
where
not sure.
you'd have to assert that Johan scales to him again. Which is where I think the issue comes in.
Hold on, can you repeat that? He said,
Yeah, I'm saying like anything that would be a motivating factor to go all out external to time constraint would assume that these people are comparable to him. Because for the chance of winning to be meaningful, at least, or for there to be some sort of meaningful disparity in your chance of winning between when you're going all out and when you're not, these people have to scale to at least when you're not going all out to some extent, right? If you're guaranteed to win the fight either way, there's no meaningful change.
okay, hold on. So you think when you don't go all out, no, obviously, like the guys can be still way weaker than you. I can still like fight, like let's say fifth grader, and the guy can still like, might be able to do some damage to me. But then if I go out like way less, or if I go less out, like just truly speaking, it's going to be less of a chance that I'll actually win the fight. If you think that's
Yes, but
trivial,
that's what I'm
guys,
saying.
it's still something which it still gives them a reason to actually go more out, given that everyone likes to win.
Yeah, no, I don't actually think like a very trivial, like let's just say that like for the sake of analogy, that's like a 0.001% increase in your chance of winning. I don't think that's actually a meaningful motivator. Nobody
Okay.
operates for a 0.001% chance. Nobody does that.
Okay.
We
So
don't
you think?
exert ourselves.
Okay, hold on. Okay. I might just steal that, but my issue with that is like that still gives them a reason. So my thing would still be more likely if he has a reason to actually go more out, even if it's like pretty small, even if it's quote unquote trivial. I don't think it's actually trivial. But besides that, when he actually starts fighting Johan, he does go relative to guy. So that given that Johan, if you in your opinion, Johan scales properly to holding that gun, he according to you, he would have a reason to actually go out.
Wait, he would have more so reason than otherwise, but that also presupposes that Gun is going all out in the second half. Again, if it's just two different levels of holding back, I don't think it
No,
matters.
but then if you just explain it, Hon, if you just explain it as well, it actually doesn't matter if like the inverse relationship doesn't actually matter because the differences might be like very true. Like it goes like from 99% I win the fight to 98% I win the fight. Okay, yeah, obviously that's like pretty tame. But then you said after that, okay, well, cool. If the guy scales to your holding back version, that actually gives you a reason to start going more out. We know that Johan does, according to you, scale to his holding back version. I think that's his all out version. But okay, even so, if we want to be more in line with that, then according to you, he would also go more out or all out in the second half of the fight.
Yeah, that's what I posited though, is that he goes more so all out.
No, but then I gave you all these reasons to say that he is going all out, and then you say, okay,
All
well,
of these same reasons can be equally attributed to him just trying harder and not going all out. We get the same sort of motivations from both.
because that Han, if you want to actually follow these reasons, then the better solution would be that he's going all out because all these reasons just point out that there's not actually constraint to his to his power output.
Well, no, there is a present constraint. The present constraint, that being wanting to have a close fight, take damage. Two things he likes.
I already told you,
Silly.
Han. We just talked about it. He has a motive to kill these guys, so he doesn't just no. His motive changed in the fight, and then okay, you said, well, he has a motive to enjoy the fight. He might as well enjoy the fight when it is happening, but his main goal in the fight is still different, presumably to our knowledge, because we see it on screen that it changed.
I wouldn't even grant that his goal is hyper literally to kill them. He has the opportunity to kill a bunch of them. He doesn't do it once. He could literally just kill all of them. He doesn't kill any of them.
Obviously, I don't think he's no, because he wants to get the red paper. That already like explains that. But either way, whatever you think killing is, it's still indexed to him going all out. It's stated.
Where is it stated?
Vasco says it. It says, okay, he was holding back this whole time. He just says it.
Wait, why is that indexed to him going all out as opposed to trying harder? That's where I'm not getting these
No, because
disparities at all.
hold on. All I'm saying is that okay, killing might not be hyper literal, and you can say, okay, well, cool. This guy is just going more out, not all out. Well, I told you, okay, so we have this inverse relationship. I gave you a reason for why he would want to go all out always. We have a reason to say that now, even though prior he was holding back, he's now going more out. Holistically speaking, with the inverse relationship and the fact that Johan actually scaled to, according to you, his holding back version, all those all these things put together, well, the guy was probably fucking going out. That's retarded.
Yeah, but then looking back at the conversation, I wouldn't have any reason to grant killing has any sort of correlation to going all out, external to actually killing people.
No, but then it's indexed to his power level. It's literally just indexed to that.
Yes, it's indexed to his power level to some extent.
Okay, I just talked about it.
Yeah, you just gave me the same argument you've already given me.
Okay, you don't want to next point?
Yeah, we can.
All right. Well, besides that, I think base gun just scales above Daniel.
Why?
We just see that they go relative and hostile, and then I can talk about why that gun was also nerfed, so he wasn't like at full power. But then he just presumably gains the power mastery, so he would just be stronger overall.
Yeah, Daniel just matches his level, so I don't think it matters.
Why do you think he was adjusted?
Stated he adjusts his opponents.
No, okay. So do you think that that's true of every opponent he fights? Because what if someone is stronger than him? I'm confused how that works.
I don't. Well, granting somebody is stronger than him, I don't think he'd adjust. I assume he'd go all out. I don't think anybody's stronger than him. It's issue.
Okay, so you just begging the question of him being weaker than him. That's the
Well,
thing.
no, it's not even begging the question. It's just a performative gap. You can speak in reference to
No,
the
there's no
hostility,
performative gap.
whatever.
There's no performative
There
gap. If
is,
you want to
he
say that he
does
was
get
adjusting his
very
level
weaker.
down, then you have to say that gun is weaker than Daniel. That's the thing. It's a question bag.
Yeah, and the sort of justification for him holding back in reference to this specific instance is how he performs against a YUI gun.
YUI gun? Hold on. YUI gun was slowing down, and he was actually getting beat the fuck up against YUI.
Yeah, he was
YUI
slowing down, and notice Daniel's performance is consistent throughout the entirety of the fight, even as gun slows down, which lends more
No,
credence to him
because
matching
that's
gun.
something, right? If gun is stronger than presumably in YUI, and he goes down and down and down and down, as he's going down more to his level, Daniel's gonna start properly adjusting like you're describing. That's not an issue.
There's never a moment in which gun is demonstrably above. That's what I'm saying. The performance is consistent no matter what level gun's at.
No, he was beating the fuck out of him the whole fight.
He wasn't. They just trade blows the entire time.
No, that's not true. We actually talked about this before. Come on. Every time Gun and Daniel actually interacted, the only times Daniel landed on Gun were counterattacks. They're not anything else. Gun was the one who was actually pushing the attack, initiating the attack.
Entirely untrue.
Okay. Didn't read the fight. Okay, let's go.
Okay, we can pull up the fight. They trade 2 punches.
Oh, they trade. Hold on. I agree that they trade. One or two
those
times.
aren't counterattacks.
But then the whole fight, he's still pushing the fuck out of Daniel. He's pressing the fuck out of Daniel. That's fine.
Okay, counterattacking the aggressor doesn't. It's not an anti-feat.
No, it's just a skill thing. Because when you're not it's a skill thing. It's not a technique. Oh, sorry, it's a technique thing, rather. It's not like it's not a stat thing. So he still scales above Daniel's stat.
Really exclusive to technique.
Because you need to be skilled enough to actually be able to pull back and retract.
Yeah, you also need to be fast enough to do these things and strong enough to actually deal damage.
No, obviously there's some kind of necessary condition of your stats going in there. You can't be like as slow as a snail in the counter, but then you can still be way weaker in stats and counter given to your skill difference because because your like when you retract your attack doesn't scale to your full output.
It doesn't really matter what you attribute.
Not outputting in the end, right? Wait, I want to be clear. When you're retracting your punch, let's say you do a jab. When you retract a jab, it's never going to be as fast as a jab because you're not actively outputting energy, correct?
Well, no, you are outputting energy when retracting.
You are outputting energy, but it's not as much as like I step forward, I do a full jab. It's not as quick, it's not as sharp, it's not as anything. It's pretty trivial. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So when Daniel hits gun when he's retracting, if you're slower than his retracting speed, or when you slower than his like cool, let's say like, okay, I'm not even sure how to put this like so people can understand. when he's like in a cooldown, right? And he doesn't attack, he has to retract, he has to bounce back into position. He's in a cooldown, right? When he's in the cooldown,
Okay. Yeah.
that speed is not going to scale to Gun's full speed. So there's even you may be slower than that cooldown, so you wouldn't be able to do that if you were as skilled as Daniel, but way slower and way weaker than him. But then you don't have to be similar to Gun in stats to actually do that. That's the thing. It's not necessary for that.
Yeah, but is there even a meaningful disparity between this quote unquote cooldown and your actual attack speed? Because it's not as if Daniel's unable to react to the attacks either. He reacts to the attacks outright.
You're not. No, hold on. No, he gets punched on the whole fight. 1 second. Let me get the fight. Well, yeah, there's a meaning for this. You're not actively outputting energy. So you're retracting. You're retracting.
No, you are.
Energy. You're retracting or you're pulling back your attack.
When you retract your arm, you output energy.
That's not the same as pushing forward your body and actually doing the mechanics of a fucking punch.
There's a disparity in energy. I don't. Using there's no energy at all is actually retarded.
You think more energy doesn't correlate to,
I think it does, but to what extent, Gyro? That's what I'm asking you. Is it?
All we know is that it's faster attack. If we know that it's a faster attack, then going back and scaling to your fucking retraction speed when you in a cooldown from an attack doesn't actually scale you to the guy because you're getting punched by the guy.
And that lends credence to them being
Sorry,
close.
Is it both? What do you mean it's both?
Yeah, if you scale to both of these speeds, then that lends credence to them being close.
But he doesn't. That's the thing, though. He doesn't.
He does. I can show you him reacting to attacks.
Brother, hold on. I can grant that they're like low or mid-end relative, but then still he was slowing down in the whole.
Well, no, they're just hard relative granting technique, which is what I wanted to get into earlier. Regardless of the mechanism by which you think Daniel is performing these feats, so long as he is performing feats on par with Gun, he scales to stronger Gun. I don't care what the mechanism for scaling is. Technique is a part of your scaling. Very fucking obviously.
Okay, no, hold on. Yeah, right, that's fine. But then I don't think he scales to Gun, though. That's the thing.
They just go relative on panel, dude.
No, hold on. We can talk about it as well. The only time they go relative is when they trade blows. I say this publicly all the time. I don't think trading blows like that ever indicates relativity in Lookism. I think you trade with stronger people all the time. Like for example, Gun and Johan. So Gun and Johan, Daniel and Gun with a fucking bunch of people actually. Like you when you trade with people, you don't actually go relative to them. That's not an indicator of relativity.
The Gun and Johan and Daniel and Johan examples are both what's in question. To be fair, do you have like any example external to this?
What do you mean? What's the question? I can show you.
No, you saying them trading despite some sort of strength gap is what's in question. Because I don't.
Oh yeah, sure. I can show you that after I get this scan. This 1 sec.
But yeah, I'm reading through the fight right now.
It's bad for Daniel. I know.
They each hit each other 3 times. Gun lands 3 hits. Okay, he's at 6. 4 for Daniel. 5 for Daniel.
Okay, so
6 for Daniel. 7.
You can count it. I don't give a fuck, Colin. So he initiates here. While he's in air, this guy drop kicks his back.
It's 7-7. They hit each other the same amount of times. Who beats whose ass?
We're not counting based on how many times they hit someone. We're counting based on how you actually performed in fight. If you think that's how you count performance, that's cool. But then he's not strong enough to
even in the UFC, that's a metric by which you count performance. Or boxing as well. That is a method by which you would gauge somebody's performance. Have you ever scored a boxing fight?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would grant obviously that landing clean hits is going to be a part of the scoring.
No, but then we just know that the guy is performing better because he's showing better stats. Like I told you, the reason I think he's showing better stats is because Daniel is the only thing he scales to is like
no, I can show you him scaling to his exact attacks.
You can't show me that.
Yes,
I'm going through the fight right now. Hold on.
It's what? Okay. Do you not remember what he does at the end of the fight?
They just trade again. I agree with that.
No, they both go to throw punches at each other. Daniel grabs Gun's punch, spins around, and kicks him in the fucking skull.
Okay. What am I supposed to do with that?
So he's reacting to his attack speed. I don't know what to tell you.
No, I'm not saying that he's fully like. I'm not saying that he's like a blister below or anything crazy like that. I agree that they're like low to mid and relative, but then still, besides that, Gun was still the one with the upper hand throughout the whole fucking fight. 1 sec.
In what instance do you have an upper hand? That's what I disagree with.
In the whole fight, he like every instance you can show it in the fight, every trade they have, every little interaction they have. Gun is the one actually pushing it. He's the one tagging Daniel, and then Daniel takes advantage of Gun's, brutality and his like, he's pretty much like a wild animal right now. I was like, I'll show you that. Check. He
takes advantage of disadvantageous positions. He's like getting pushed through walls and thrown around, and still manages to land a counter that stuns Gun long enough for him to hit him again before Gun can even move.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not saying that he's massively below fucking. Sorry, I'm not saying he's.
That's what I'm saying. But they both have these same sorts of performances. There's no sort of disparity.
If one guy is getting punked the whole time, and then the guy, while he's getting punked, is able to land a jab that is strong enough to do some damage to you, obviously. But then you're still the one getting pressed and moved around, and you're the one on the back for the whole fight. Seemingly speaking, you're probably the one losing the fight. If you're the guy who likes to initiate throughout your
Wait,
whole fight, that's
by
what he does.
which metric are you losing? Daniel also doesn't
What's
initiate in
that?
a lot of fights. He
No,
does
hold on, he
against
does.
people who's way, way, way stronger than him.
He does against people who are strong enough.
Who he's way, way, way stronger than.
Okay, so who he
He
adjusts
doesn't
to?
initiate
When
against
he
like
adjusts to,
high
hold on, when
kids.
he adjusts, hold on, when you're saying when he adjusts to people who he's way stronger than, he likes to push the fight. Is that what you're saying?
But no, I think like people with
I'm
very
gonna hit you with a
drastic
fucking
strength
doogie right now. Is
disparities.
that what you're saying? No, I'm gonna hit you with a doogie right now. Is
I
if
just gave you a
this guy?
response. I don't know why you asked me if that's what I'm saying again.
No, okay, so the answer is yes or no? I didn't hear it.
But no, I think only in reference to super drastic strength disparities, i.e., like him versus Jerry or some shit.
Okay. So when the guy, okay, hold on. What does drastic mean?
Vast, very big.
Okay, no, okay, wow. So was it like, what's the threshold for something to be vast and not fast? Like, qualitatively speaking, I'm asking you to put a
Like a
number on it.
blitz one shot level difference.
Okay. So that's pretty much for you speaking. That's most characters in the story, right?
Yeah, that is probably a majority. I mean, if we count like irrelevant characters, a vast majority. But out of the relevant characters, yeah, still majority.
Okay, but hold on, you're just adding this condition. All we know is that when this guy adjusts to the people he's weakening, he likes to push the fight.
No, that's not
And
true
you
in every
know I'm going
case.
with this, right? No, because hold on, in other fights, when he adjusts down, like for example against OGI Daniel, and the guy just kills him, they just equal out. But then all we know is that
Yeah,
if
they
the guy is
equal out.
truly
Nobody's
weakening him
taking the
and he
initiative.
truly adjusts him, he's gonna push the fight. That's already I think true of this when it's not true of Gun. He's not adjusted Gun. Let's just get that out of the way. But hold on, let me check the scans.
Not even a meaningful response. You just gave me an example of a character weaker than him, outright stated to be weaker than him, that he is not on initiative against.
No, because that's hold on, are you talking about Daniel?
Yeah, little Daniel.
That's the thing, right? I'm saying that he adjusted down to Daniel, and then they just equaled out. So that's the only thing that you can like show
He
me
never
where
he never was
look, he
on.
didn't actually like go
He never
home. He
took
didn't
any sort of
actually start pushing.
initiative.
Sorry,
He never took any sort of initiative.
no, because they equaled out in energy. Sorry, they equaled out in skill. They just they both
He
adjust
didn't
each other.
equal out in skill. It's actually stated that Big Daniel has more experience, or
Cool.
seems to
That's
have
fine.
more experience given how he's
Yeah,
fighting.
no, that's cool, right? But then that's still explaining what I'm saying. He's still way closer to these guys. This guy is skilled than other fighters. He still adjusts him, but point is, if we know that it's consistent for this
We
guy,
can attribute it to skill
once
and
he
not
adjusts to
scaling.
push the fucking fight, and this guy doesn't push the fight and actually gets punched the fuck out of him throughout the whole fight, and he's probably not
Okay,
adjusted
wait.
down.
So we can attribute a change in performance, or at least how he fights, to skill. Then
No, I mean his skill never changes. I'm not sure what you're talking about. By the way, check PC's
no,
face.
I'm saying his opponent's skill is going to be the reason why his fighting style changes.
I
That's
mean,
the explanation you just
when
gave me
you
with regards to little Daniel.
I mean, thing is,
So it's just us
when
being
I say
unskilled.
that, when you want to say that, or when I say that, I can probably, I'm fine with probably agreeing that. But thing is, when I say that, I actually have a fucking reason to say that. Well, it's skill, but then when you say, okay, well, there's a massive stat disparity for him to actually push the fight, it seems very arbitrary to me because everyone who he fought up to this point presumably had a massive stat disparity with him. So when you say, okay, he pushed the
Yeah.
fight against this guy, but not this guy, it seems like it's
Yes, and
very
then we
seems
look
like
at
it's
somebody who's
justified. You don't
comparable.
have a reason to say this.
Wait, no, we do have a reason to say this again. We
What's the
have a
reason?
set of data that includes both people that are comparable to and inferior to him in skill drastically, right? All the people that are far inferior to him in skill, he takes the initiative against, beats the shit out of them. People who are comparable to some extent in skill, he doesn't.
Wait, but hold on. Do you think he's comparable to skill and gun? Oh, sorry. You think he's comparable in skill to gun, rather? Sorry.
But Gun is like hyper skilled. That's like his whole thing. Aside
No,
from
I
like
know,
being
right?
super
In UI,
physically strong,
regular, but in true UI, he doesn't fight like that. He fights like a wild beast. It's stated. It's literally just stated strength or skill.
you,
He doesn't
you
use skill
do
to fight.
you do understand those like wild fighting styles are also attributed to skill, right?
No, obviously you're not
Eli's
gonna
like a
be
really
like
good example.
you're not gonna be like a wild gorilla. There's gonna be some aspect of skill, but still, when you say okay, this guy is more skilled, you're presumably saying that this guy's outputting or using the same level of techniques as Daniel, so he's equaling out to him or making actually go on
No,
the
I
back
don't. I
foot.
don't think he's. I don't think he equals out. Once again, I think there's a shift in fighting style when somebody is comparable. That's all that
Wait,
matters.
sorry. Can you repeat the first part? Yeah.
What's
Okay.
up?
Can you repeat the first part?
I don't even remember what I said. I'm not gonna lie. I
Well,
don't
we
know.
were
I just
talking
said.
about like yeah.
What the fuck did you ask me? Just ask me whatever you asked me again. I'll probably give the same answer.
Yeah, okay. Um, like you made me forget this about, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on. I want to ask you. Fuck. Like, can someone in chat remind me? Like, if anyone's listening.
Oh my god, never mind. I already know. Like,
Yo, if anyone was listening, what'd they ask? Not gonna lie.
Where's Yanni? Yanni asked for this, bro. He's a tracker.
Yo,
That's a
I'm
big
back.
tracker.
Hello.
Okay,
Bro,
bro.
do you remember what I asked him, or do you remember what
Wallah,
you
I'm
said?
falling asleep, bro.
Oh fucking hell. Okay, are you fine with just moving on to my next contention?
little baby.
you fine with-
Yeah, I think I responded to what she said. Yeah.
Oh, I think you fucking didn't. Okay, anyway. Well, besides
Cheers.
that, well, we can just examine how he actually performs when he's adjusted down. So when he adjusts down to people, he just seems to not take damage. Do you agree that he's like his whole goal is to fight efficiently, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So adjusting is just the mechanism of fighting efficiently. It's not identical to fighting efficiently.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't remember that by the way, but besides that, well, okay. So if his whole goal is to fight efficiently, what do you think efficient means?
I think it's indexed to energy conservation, assumedly.
Okay, cool. So energy conservation in regards to actually winning the fight, presumably, right?
Yeah, I mean, he literally never loses a fight. So
Yeah,
yes.
cool. No, actually, he does twice on screen, but besides that,
Anyways,
anyway, yeah, okay. So given that, do you think that in index to trying to win the fight is sufficient to take damage within the fight?
what'd you say? My bad. I'm like sort of preoccupied. What'd you say?
You're good. By the double cope, but index to index to winning the fight, do you think it's sufficient to take damage?
Context dependently. Yeah, I think it can be.
I mean, when it's trivial damage, right? But then when you're not able to walk, do you think
Well,
that's something which is necessary to win
that's
the
where we
fight if
sort of
you're way
disagree. Is I
stronger than
think
that?
almost all damage is trivial while he's in UI, which is I don't think UI accounts for when he leaves it.
Well, hold on, you just don't feel pain in your eye. Your body's still damaged. That's it.
Yeah, but nobody does enough damage to him to actually like create any sort of biological issues. They just make him hurt.
What do you mean by that?
As in, like, we'll just speak back in reference to, like, when Gunn breaks his arm, right? When you have a broken arm, obviously it cannot output as much force as, like, a fully structured arm.
Yeah.
Daniel doesn't ever get injured to that extent. Like, bruising really doesn't have a meaningful effect
No,
on your output.
we don't know that. He just like the whole fight.
We know
I'm
we
talking
do
about
know
is-
bruising doesn't have a meaningful effect on your output.
Hold on,
We do know.
hold on. That's not what I'm talking about. Which, by the way, I think it does. But anyway, we this doesn't even matter. I'm saying in the first fight, in the hostile fight, we don't know whether or not he was just bruised or he was actually anything broken. That we don't see the whole fight. We don't know whether or not his performance got impaired. All we know is that he got damaged so badly that when he gets out of UI, the pain is so bad that he can't even walk. When Daniel, the same fucking Daniel, the same perfect body Daniel, while out of UI, took damage like Jinrank, he took Teisu, he took all these guys. The guy literally can't walk after this. His body is just fucking broken.
Characters with broken bones and lookism are almost always shown with casts or slings. I don't think his bones were broken, so I think we do know, or at least we have reason to believe they were not.
Well, I mean, after the fight, sure, but then we don't. Do we see Daniel after the fight? Like,
Yeah.
recovering?
The story follows Daniel, and
No,
it
I
doesn't time
understand
skip a
right
lot.
on. I just don't remember that one. I get it. Like right after. I mean, I know. I remember that.
I don't know if we
Kelsey
see him
woke up
immediately
and-
after. We see Gunn in a cast while Daniel is not, though, obviously.
Well, I don't remember that. But either way,
Really?
yeah. I mean, hold on. I just think that he recovered quickly?
We would just have less reason to believe that, though.
Yeah, you're right. Either way, I don't care. Fuck. Point is, I got straight off the point. Point is, it just seems odd to me to say that. Well, given like a good amount of damages was done to him, he was still fighting efficiently enough to actually win the fight. Given that when he does fight efficiently, he tends to not take damage. When he actually does adjust, the way he actually chooses to fight is not take damage at all. So I'm confused. How do you say that? Even though this guy is way stronger than everyone he fought before, he does way more damage to me than everyone I fought before. But it's now I decide that it's sufficient for me to take damage against this guy and not against those
Well,
other
I
guys.
think his portrayal, generally speaking, has changed a lot. He takes damage from a lot of people that obviously don't scale to him.
Within those fights, hold on.
Yeah, like just look at like OG Daniel is like a good example. He does really bad in 1A, just generally speaking. He just doesn't do good against a lot of people who don't scale to him.
No, hold on. He does. The only thing you can say is that, well, the guy just. Oh, you can say I'm not sure if he got pressed by Jin Young. He didn't, but Against
Sure,
OG
he
Daniel, they
didn't
just
fight
equaled out
either.
in stats. They just equaled out in stats, and then they were just skilled enough to actually damage
Wait,
the.
why do they equal out in stats? One is a perfect body, one is not. We
No, he
literally have
just
zero reason to
the
believe
whole
that.
point. That's the whole point, right? He adjusted down. That's what you're saying, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, you're presupposing adjustment. Yeah.
Well, the guy is literally fucking weaker than Daniel, but
Yeah, no,
anyway.
that's what I'm saying. He's like weaker external to the adjustment.
Okay,
Obviously.
so what's an answer for this? Because he does take hits, but then those are hits from like fucking 3A Johan. I'm not
It's
sure if that's
knocked out.
I'm not sure if that's too comparable to fucking gun. Sorry, what are you saying?
Dude, he almost gets knocked out by little OG Daniel.
Well, that's a skill thing. He was adjusted down. Like he was skilled enough to actually land
Well,
that.
that's what I'm saying though. Is he's taking like a lot of fucking damage from somebody who shouldn't scale to him.
Okay,
Somebody
hold
who
on.
doesn't
Oh,
scale
you
to him.
talking about the last part? Oh, hold on. What's that? Oh yeah, well, he was just knocked out, right? Like that he thought that Daniel was knocked out.
Everybody in the vicinity thought Big Daniel got knocked out by the kick.
No, I mean like he thought Lil Daniel was knocked out after the fucking combo, presumably,
No,
and that's why he didn't react.
I don't think he thought anything. He's like a instinctual fighting machine.
No, when I say
I
think,
don't.
that's like yeah. Obviously, when I say think, I just mean well, the
Well,
guy.
no. That's what I'm saying. Is I think his processes would disallow him getting off guarded by somebody pretending.
No, I'm not saying he. No, I'm not saying he pretended. I genuinely think that
Well, obviously he didn't
the way
pretend,
he
but that's
saw
what I'm saying.
Daniel,
Like,
the way he saw Daniel falling down, it would occur to him that well, the guy's knocked out, presumably because before in the
no, he can
fight
sense
and
danger.
after in the fight by people who are presumably stronger than OG Daniel, the guy just doesn't get damaged once, or doesn't get hit like that once. So
I think the other
it's
people
just
scale
very
to
odd occurrence.
OGUI.
It's very clear. Sorry.
For one, I don't think the other people scale to OGUI, but that's an entirely different thing. For two, he can
really?
sense danger, like explicitly.
Okay.
We
So you
just see
think
it in 3A.
you think okay, hold on. A guy falling down after a combo is meeting danger. We fuck with. Hey, let's get
Well,
it.
I would imagine when he goes to throw the hardest kick he's ever thrown in his fucking life, he probably is, yeah. Especially when it's almost enough to knock you out. Pretty
No, but then
dangerous.
if you don't expect it even instinctually, you can't scale that to Daniel.
Yeah, Grant even doesn't expect it initially. I don't. If the guy's not knocked out, he should still be emitting some
No, I think.
danger.
Wait, hold on. I'm not sure. Aura's never Aura like that with danger, which I think I'm gonna say Aura for convenience purposes. Aura
Yeah.
like that is never explained in Lucas. We don't know what Aura is. So if you want to do explain it, then I just think it's a better explanation to say that the guy stopped emitting this quote unquote danger because prior in the fight, and if you don't say that Jin Young maybe scales above OG, yeah, Daniel, we can like we're not gonna get into that, but uh, point is prior to that, it's just very queer to say that this guy is doing so much better, and then he suddenly almost gets knocked out. That's like literally retarded.
That's what I say. He doesn't do that much better, dude. He gets hit a lot.
No, he gets hit, but then that's what I'm saying. They're equaling out his skill, and then he just beats the fuck out of Daniel or OG Daniel.
Equaling out in why do you keep saying skill? We disagree on the skill thing.
No, they. If you're relative to him in stats, he adjusted down, and then the reason Daniel is performing then would be the only other thing left in the fight, which is skill. It's a kill thing. So it's just a conjunct. Sorry,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't equal out in skill though. Is like where I'm getting confused.
No, hold on. They have no. The only difference is experience, not skill.
Experience is directly correlated to skill. If there's an experience difference, there's a skill difference.
What do you mean by skill? First of all,
combative ability index to like your ability to respond to certain attacks, throwing optimal attacks, all these sorts of things.
okay. Well, I'm not sure about that. Then. No,
You're
obviously,
not sure
hold
if
on,
that's how skills
I think
define as
there's some kind of.
lookism, or
I think there's some kind of like you can probably observe some kind of positive correlation, meaning that most of the time when this guy has like more experience, he's probably going to be more skilled because obviously he trained more, this or that. But then there's not this doesn't mean that one caused or one is directly connected to the other. That's different. There's not like an inference there.
about for the last part of what you said, run that back.
Yeah, sorry. All I'm saying is that, well, given that we can agree that experience probably has some kind of positive correlation to skill. So given like you have fighter X and fighter Y, fighter X who was fighting for 2 years, probably since he trained more, fought more, etc., will have more skill than fighter Y because not because of the experience, but the experience will be correlated to that. It's something which is connected to that. But I'm not sure if having more experience is something which is causing to you have more skill, or even a better commitment is saying that they're analytically the same, which is just retarded to me.
Yeah, no. The issue is it undeniably should grant you having more skill. Considering if you have more experience against like a variety of fighters, fighting styles, all these sorts of things, which obviously Big Daniel has experience against basically everybody that Little Daniel throws out.
No, but then hold on. If you say that's undeniable, then you have to make an argument for that. Because
Well,
I just
yeah,
told you. Given, like, we can agree that it's correlative to some degree, or meaning that it's literally just correlation causation fallacy. That's literally what it is. Given that we can observe that, well, sometimes or a lot of times this thing is associated with this thing, but then
it doesn't even need to be
the
causal.
thing is you can't
We just
argue
have
from
greater
that.
reason to
You can't
believe.
argue from that
We have
correlation.
greater reason to believe one is more skilled.
No, I mean not from the experience part. No, that's not the thing.
Yes, if there is a correlation, one of these things is greater, then we'd expect
No, but
the
correlation. All
correlated
that
thing to
means
be
is that
greater.
there's no correlation. All that means is that like literally there's no connection between those things. They just we observe that they happen to be
Well, no, there is a
present in
logical
certain,
connection. I can explain it
demographic
to
with
you,
us.
right? If you see somebody throw X attacks a given number of times versus somebody who only sees them throw it once, obviously you are going to have more time to come up with countermeasures, create effective countermeasures, apply effective countermeasures, all these sorts of things. So there is some sort of logical line by which we can connect the two. It's not as if they're arbitrarily correlated or it's not meaningful. We have direct reason to believe somebody is more experienced is somebody that's more skilled. This is true of
Okay, so
almost every martial artist in real life too.
Okay, so you're saying that having more experience will just allow you to have more skill, or what? You can derive skill from experience.
You can, and at a certain level, you are expected to derive skill from experience. Yeah.
Okay, where's the expectancy?
The expectancy is going to be with talented fighters, just generally
Wait,
speaking.
by the way,
This is
hold on, by
something
the way,
true
by
in
the
real
way.
life. These are like hyper talented fighters.
Okay, so that's just index to high talented fighters. Okay, well, that's just okay. Well, I can say that
Talented fighters, generally speaking.
No, I already agree
these guys
that
are like hyper talented.
No, I already told you that I have zero issues with experiencing fighting more and being fighter X in my analogy and fighter Y. Fighter X is just more favorable to actually fighting better because he had that more experience, or not because, but something which would open the door for having more experience to him. But then the thing is, if there's no direct line drawn between those things, so you're saying okay because you have this experience, then you have the skill, then it's just not an argument. There's no issue there. Because all you're saying is that this can cause more skill. Well, yeah, it can. I grant that. But okay, well, where do we go from here?
No. We completely ignored the part where I said expected, right? So when we look at these real life cases of martial artists, right? Somebody who is more experienced, who typically, even at face value, would grant has more skill. We see it oftentimes. You train more in a martial art, you are more skilled at that martial art on average. This is true.
I grant that. But hold on,
Basically,
like I
any
said,
real life fighter.
I just
These guys
have
are
like
hyper geniuses.
I don't have an issue with like granting the correlation part, like I said that, but I have an issue wrapping my head like around the expectancy part. Because all you're saying is that okay, well, arbitrarily speaking, these fighters who are more talented will derive skill from experiences more often than not. But sorry, more often rather. But then, well, I just outlining a view, bro. Like I know you think that.
Yes, but then we draw this sort of correlation to lookism where these guys are hyper geniuses. This is expected in the case of people who are inferior in talent, inferior in ability to translate thoughts to, I guess, actions in a fighting sense. They're inferior in all of these regards that would be relevant.
Wait, hold on.
It would be even more so expected.
No, hold on. When you say expected, that just like that's more of an objective claim. When you say, well, this talented fighter is more expected than a non-talented fighter or like a less talented fighter to actually derive skill from experience, that's just a trivial claim. I can obviously grant that someone who's more competent would be able to juice out more substance out of something they have than someone who's less competent than them, right? Like, I agree with that.
So then when we
Hold
get
on,
into the realm of
hold on, sorry. One last thing, but that's different than saying that that's objectively plausible. That's objectively likely to say, or that's expected to say. That's like a crazy say.
No, the issue is when we get into the realm of hyper competency, right? You're fine with these people, at least like Big Daniel, being hyper competent with regards to martial arts.
No, but then thing is, I don't draw the connection there. Like you say, okay, well that's you're trivially more expected to than someone who's less competent. But then why is it plausible?
That's what I'm saying. If normal people are able to make these translations, right, which they do, that's how you grow in skill. Everybody grows in skill. Granted, they perform a certain task enough. For Daniel to reach the level of skill that he's at,
that's the whole thing. We don't agree with that.
What do you not agree with?
That experience will and does grant more skill. I'm saying that it's oftentimes it's correlated, but then all you're saying is that experience can, and we can observe that it can actually bring more skill. But then when you say it does, that's a very different claim. That's a very marginally different claim.
When I say does, I mean like there are real life cases of this thing happening. Not in every case this thing does happen, right?
But like I grant that. Like that's trivial. When I say trivial, I just mean that it's totally distinct to the claim you made initially. Is that it's expected. Like when you say it's expected, you say it's more likely than not.
Yes, it is more likely than not. What are we missing here? Do you want me to give you like an argument as to why in most cases people are able to?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, presumably, right? Because most cases, as in Well, in
Okay,
most cases,
we
when
can
you
speak
have
in
like,
reference to lookism then. I'd be happy to get to that part.
well, yeah, sure, great. But
Okay.
when I say more often, I just mean more often than not. When
Yeah.
you get more experience, you will derive more skill from it. And then obviously, when you say that for lookism, Daniel, who's more, literally the most talented fighter in the fucking story, he will probably do that as well. I can get that.
Yeah, okay. So when we look with regards to lookism as a whole, basically everybody that's not at their peak or is like capped out to some extent, every fight they have, they grow. That is very, very consistent throughout the entirety of lookism, and that is due to the experience.
Saying it's due to the experience.
Yeah, it's definitely not due to being pushed scaling wise, because Gun beats up like complete randoms, and so does Johan, and it gets the two very strong. Jinring does the
Yeah.
same thing.
He
Like, they
pushes
just beat up
complete random.
guys.
What do you mean?
I'm saying like it's more likely to be an experience thing as opposed to some sort of getting pushed statistically and growing physically. Because again, people like Gun who are like very, very high level strength, I'm sure you would grant Gun, even when he was in juvie, was incredibly strong, right?
Yeah.
Beats up a bunch of completely random guys and gets massively stronger from it. Jinrang does the same thing. Johan does something similar. Like, these guys just beat up random people for the sake of experience.
Oh, but hold on. Okay, hold on. All you're bringing me is that, like, people who do derive skill from experience. When you say, you're not saying give me like random cases of this is something which is, yeah, cool. Like, we can talk about this random instances. But then when you say like when you make a claim of probability, you either have to make some kind of more wide scale inference for this, or you have to literally go instance by instance and say, well, in
Super wide scale.
more than 50% of these like a billion fighters in lookism, they grew from fucking skill, or is that from experience to skill? Well, okay, cool. Like, we can talk about.
Yes,
like,
I
we
spoke
can
in
do that.
reference to basically every fight we speak on panel. So this is some broad spanning inference. Once again, this is like unironically bordering on dishonesty. You've read the story, so have I. You know,
No,
everybody
because
every time
hold
they
on.
fight gets stronger after they fight.
Okay, I understand how that might like come off dishonest. I'll just explain what I mean. So my issue with wrapping my head around this is that when you say expected, like, understand that when you say expected, just like when you read the story, like, it's more likely than not that when someone gets more experience, when someone sees something, they're gonna derive more skill from it. And you say, okay, well, a lot of the times here, like, you brought up a couple examples. Well, I mean, I think here, like you said, it's like literally every fight, which, okay, cool. People do grow with time and lookism, but I'm not sure if you can correlate that to the experience specifically. That's my thing.
Okay. So we know experience is a mechanism that causes growth, obviously, right? We know every fighter grows when they have these fights, essentially, irregardless of who the opponent is, right?
Grows because of experience.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They grow after fights, essentially, irregardless of who their opponent is.
Grow regardless of size. Not sure what you mean by grow. Like, you mean like just grow physically, or what?
Well,
Grow as a
as in
fighter?
they are better fighters, whether you think that's statistical in nature, skill based in nature, whatever you think it might be. They are better fighters coming out of basically every given fight, regardless of the opponent. In most
Okay.
cases, I'm sure there are some where you don't grow.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. So if we know that you get experience from people that don't scale to you at all, right? We know that you get stronger in basically every single fight you take. The correlation, and not even the correlation there, but the line of reasoning should be pretty obvious. Like, you understand where this is going, right?
Yeah. But my thing is, we're talking about skill, not just overall fighter capabilities.
Yeah, that's the point being, if you still get stronger, irregardless of opponent, that means every time you gain experience, you get stronger. Because you're still getting stronger, even if your opponent cannot push you physically.
Okay, cool.
There's
But
something you've already
you
done.
can't say that you had Daniel grew stronger. That's retarded.
You don't think UI Daniel can grow
Oh,
stronger?
because okay,
Well,
physically
it's not even
stronger.
that, it's not even that he grew stronger. I think it is he was already stronger.
Already strong. No, okay. Then people like your OG Daniel, yeah, sure. But when you say, okay, he got more experience, and then you argue that for skill, but then you say, okay, well, maybe it's not skill. Maybe he just grew stronger. My thing is, we have to attribute it to skill because the guy can grow physically. Like, he has the perfect body.
Yes, that's precisely what I'm saying. So if we say characters that are skill capped, right, which are assumedly a lot of characters at the pinnacle of skill that they can reach, or the pinnacle of skill irregardless. We can point out a lot of cases, like people who have been fighting for like an obscene amount of time and are hyper talented. Gun's also probably a good example. Do you think Gun can grow in skill past where he is, or do you think he's like capped out?
Gun and skill. Fuck. I mean, probably capped out. Not gonna lie, probably capped out.
That's what I'm saying. And we see him get stronger as the story progresses, despite him fighting like complete shitters.
No, that's fine,
Like,
right? But then that would just be attributed to his, like, there's no issue with Gun just getting stronger physically. Like, my issue with this is that Well, all he told me is that people given experience giving fighting, they get stronger. But then
Wait, no.
what
But
the
I'm saying
initial
you
claim
can't
was
get
that
stronger
he's gonna
physically
get
from people that
stronger in
get pushed
skill
around.
with experience. Wait, I'm sorry. What's up?
Oh, I was just saying you can't get stronger physically from people that cannot push you physically. Again, the only mechanism by which you grow stronger physically is through physical exertion. If you're not exerting yourself in a given fight, like fighting a complete shitter, you can't grow physically. So you have to grow somewhere.
Okay, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's going. That's the thing.
You don't think Gun gets stronger throughout the story? Really?
No, God does, but then hold on. Thing is, like, my okay. How do I even wrap this? Like, how do I say this? Okay, so Daniel can get stronger physically. I think we agree with that. The guy has a perfect body. Um, so if he cannot get stronger physically, when you say, well, the guy got stronger due to experience, and then all you draw a connection to is characters either getting stronger in technique or experience, and you don't draw a correlation to technique specifically, then how do you say that Daniel with experience got stronger in technique? Because all we know is that that's the thing you have to prove, guys, as a claim.
That's where we get back to the initial point. Is we agree experience is obviously a contributing factor when deciding who wins a fight between any two of your characters, right? At least in lookism, because that's what they attribute to Big Daniel winning.
Wait, sorry, repeat that. Sorry.
I'm saying you would agree. Experience is something meaningful in deciding who wins a fight between any two given fighters, at the very least in lookism, right? Because that's what everybody present attributes Big Daniel's win to. He's more experienced, right?
Yeah, sure.
So that's what do you think the mechanism by which experience influences a fight is, if not skill? We don't really have any other meaningful way to explain it.
Meaningful way to explain how it affects a fight other than skill. With deep
Yeah.
big one. Oof. How would I explain that? By the way, I'm not gonna lie to you before I answer. I have no clue why we're talking about this. I'm not gonna lie to you. Besides this,
I don't really remember. Before you answer, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna fill up my water. And then if somebody's a big tracker, they can let us know.
No, because I was gonna not gonna lie, I was gonna ask you to end this after this, but I'm not gonna. But how would I explain this? Well, is it a skill or strength? Well, can I just be battle IQ then? Like his instinct, like his
What's
instinct.
do we think battle IQ and skill are distinct? Also, no, it actually can't be battle IQ in Big Daniel's case. He's stated to have perfect decision making. Like, he comes up with perfect responses to shit. So I don't know how you could get better than perfect responses.
Well, she thinks. Bro, how the fuck did y'all both forget?
Yo, can
I
you
don't
guys
know.
just end the debate versus ask?
You were the one that asked for it very nicely, by the way. But I'm gonna grab some water.
Obviously.
You just lied. I
We
hope you
cannot
fast
hear you,
forward
Gyro,
it.
if you're speaking, by the way. We cannot hear you.
Gyro, if you're not speaking, or if you are, give me 2 seconds, because I desperately need water. I'm dehydrated. I'm gonna die.
I wish you died, nigga.
Fuck you.
I'll fuck you, gang. Pause.
Darn, if you ever perm abuse me again, I will hunt you down until the end of the fucking time.
Wait, what'd you say, bro? Nah, repeat that, bro. We didn't hear you.
I said if Darn perm
Bitch.
Okay, I'm back. Truly the highest level clash the Lookism community's ever seen. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, Gyro slammed badly. I mean, very unfortunate. No, bad. No, very fortunate for me.
in the mind of Gyro's.
Okay. Well, Bob, do you want to get the beats after this as well?
No,
Yeah,
you can get. I was just about to suggest that you get belt.
I'm always ready. I'm always ready to give
Are you
you
guys
belts.
done?
I'm not sure if
Are you
I
guys
can
done?
take belts. And there's
So
two
low
belts.
the timeline.
Gyro, ping me and give me a sec.
Gyro
Where's
conceded?
Gyro?
Yeah,
He didn't concede. His phone died.
well, it was like an implicit, you know.
No, his phone
Is
died.
that
He
like
just
when
said in
Apollo?
chat
Is
that his phone
that
died.
like when
I
Apollo says he
know,
has to pray?
Yo, can
Bro,
y'all
phone
can y'all
died,
just go
what the fuck
nerd this nigga the Uzin, please? He said hi, implying that he can humble me. Can we just nerd him, please? Uzin, thank you.
Who's the top one Sabra in the server?
Definitely me, bro. Definitely me. Wait,
Malevolent,
if we
you
talk about
missed it,
Right here,
bro.
software,
You missed it.
You missed what?
Me versus Gyro on Lookism. Actual debate.
What was the topic?
Daniel versus Johan.
Look
Is
at
that
them.
You
fucking
know who had
malevolent
who.
VC?
dude, why are you taking so long?
Did you win?
You're malevolent.
You won, Yanni.
You're malevolent.
Up.
You're malevolent. Okay, I'm begging it.
Are we saving this wreck pile? Ah, fuck off, Yanni.
You're malevolent.
Wow, everyone left as soon as I joined. Okay.
You're
You
malevolent.
guys killed
You're
this.
malevolent. Hello.
Let me just let me
What do you
mute
want? Top.
I want to talk to you.
Yo,
I see.
Gio, man, stop
Yeah, what
talking,
you have,
bro.
bro?
Let me mute this nigga.
You're malevolent.
What the fuck do you want? Do you want to
Why
die?
are you up so late, girl?
You know
Why
the
are
debate
you
is not
upset?
over yet, right?
You should
Huh?
I know.
malevolent. Go to sleep, girl.
We're just hanging out, man.
You're malevolent.
Fuck
Go
you
to sleep,
niggas.
girl.
I hate
Huh?
fun.
You're
I
malevolent.
hate
Go to
fun,
sleep,
nigga.
girl.
You said what?
Go to sleep, girl.
Yeah, nigga, you go to sleep.
He
Yeah, good
called you
girl.
his bitch. And we still cannot hear him.
Stop
It's fucking
listening to your
embarrassing.
voices.
Phone died. Wallahi, my phone died, guys. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on,
You're
hold
good.
on,
You're
hold
good.
on.
Okay,
I
hold on.
always,
Okay,
you know that, but
okay, that
what's up?
he got belt ass, but hold on. Yo, yo, Bob, you asked me. Yeah, I said if I had to actually attribute to something, I would attribute it to his battle IQ, right? Would battle IQ attribute to skill? Would be the same issue with the experience attributing to skill. Like yeah, it might be correlated to skill as you grow more skills as
I
a
gave you
fighter.
another issue after I said it can't be battle IQ. He stated to have perfect responses to stuff.
Perfect response to stuff. Who says this? Who says this rather? I'm sorry.
It's implied by Gunn when he talks about the weakness, and then I think it's stated earlier in the series. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, perfect is that just in reference to his efficiency? Because you can be as efficient as you want while picking. So you can be as efficient as you want in energy output while picking out different moves for actual responses you're gonna give.
I think it's in reference like hyper specifically to his quality of response to a given attack.
Okay, I mean quality would that just not be indexed to his energy output if
And
that's
it's
what
not even
efficiency
that he
is?
has multiple things to pick from, because remember it's explicitly stated he always picks the same thing when
No, I
throwing
mean
the same attack at
that's
same
after
level.
he already given he has like his mind set on his instinct set on actually doing that counter to that move again and again and again. So that's why you can spam the same move. But then if his responses change or if his like software change, then his response would change given that it might be a better response, but he's still gonna do it again and again and again and again.
I don't know if his software can change. He has the perfect experiences.
Well, but then perfect experiences. Okay, that by the way, that would do you want me to tell you what's wrong with that?
Huh.
You're saying the guy grew an experience. Like, if you want to talk about that, then
No,
I'll
perfect
tell you.
experiences. As in the
Perfect
ones he's
experience.
already have. It's not that he can't have more.
All right, okay, that makes more sense. But either way, uh, fuck, what was I saying? Besides that, when you index it to fucking like, hold on, yeah, he's just gonna have like the same response, but then how good the response is in relation to how actually like how good a response to the attack in relation to how good at being efficient it is going to be a little different. So you can have like let's say you throw a jab and UI Daniel's response before that was well, you know, uh, like let's say dodge. After that he's gonna dodge and counter. But his perfect experience is like I'm not sure what that means. That's like super vague to me. Like how can experience
Well,
be
that
perfect?
what do you? I think it's like what you derive from the experiences. Obviously, because saying you had a perfect experience in and of itself is really vague and arbitrary and meeting. But if we try to draw some sort of correlation between that and like actual combative terms, which is how it's always used, right? I think the thing that makes the most sense or the easiest to derive from this sort of statement is just what he derives or gains from experience is perfect in nature. So like attacks he's already seen, he should know how to perfectly counter.
But hold on, but that's just granted knowledge or granted that experience. From given experience or given amount of experiences, his response would be the perfect interpretation of those experiences. He derived everything he needed to derive out of those experiences. But when he has more data to actually work from, do not think that that's fine with the statement because his experiences probably wouldn't be like imperfect. He literally just got better and more knowledge pretty much.
What's
He
up
had
to
to
bet?
reduce it.
I don't think he can get more knowledge with regards to like a certain attack, but I think he can get more knowledge in the sense that he can see more stuff, like an attack he's never seen, if there is one.
Wait, sorry, repeat that. I was reading the chat.
I was saying I don't think he can gain more knowledge in the sense that I don't think he can know more of or come up with a better way to respond to a certain attack, because that sort of defeats the whole verbiage used with regards to perfect experience. But I think he can gain more knowledge in the sense that he can see more attacks, like ones that he hasn't seen before, if there are any.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Kind of like, well, that's my issue, right? Because I'm not sure whether or not, like, perfect experience refers to like, literally everything he does up to now is perfect. Index to his experience, or his like what he derived from experience is just being perfect, and then he can get more of those like.
Wait, elaborate on that
abilities as
first
well.
part. What?
Yeah, sorry, I just
What do
meant
you
that
mean?
I'm not sure what. I mean, it's not relevant because I'm not gonna like argue for that, and I'm not sure if you're arguing for that either. I'm just saying I'm not sure whether or not perfect experiences means something like, well, uh, you perfectly respond, like your response to the given attack is objectively perfect. Index to your perfect experience or caused by your perfect experiences. I just think that, like you said, is something you derive from your perfect experiences, and then not just subjectively perfect, meaning you derived everything as good as you can, but you can still have better and more experiences. So, for example, to my knowledge, like let's say I'm in like an ancient Egypt, and to my knowledge, like let's say there's lightning, right? I see a lightning strike, and I do not know what the fuck like a cloud is. Like I don't know what I don't know what shit is. I'm not a scientist. My best explanation for what caused the lightning strike is okay. God did it, right? But then, well, now, given more knowledge, more experience, more etc. etc. We just got smarter as humans. We can have better responses, more explanation for this, and then we can have even explain more things and have more response to more things. That's what I think is kind of happening here.
Yeah, but that would be the sort of issue is where if you are insufficient with regards to knowledge on what happened, then your experience was imperfect.
Wait, sorry, repeat that. The first part.
I'm saying if the knowledge you had was insufficient, index to that hyperspecific experience, then the knowledge you have is imperfect. Thus, the experience is imperfect. Right.
Well, but no, you just derive if you index that to like what you derive from the experience. Then, if you derive it the most efficient you can, if you just do the best you can with your given experiences, then like I don't see an issue with that because you're saying your knowledge is or sorry, your experience is imperfect, but no, not really. You got a perfect experience. You just derived everything perfect from there.
Okay, yeah, but then in this context, he has access to all the meaningful data. Like, at least against like OG Little Daniel, like he's seen all those attacks like 10 times before.
Wait, but
I don't know
then
what else is again.
wait, could you not just say that like seeing those more attacks just pretty much updating his data set, pretty much that's what it
Do we
does.
ever see his response to certain attacks change?
Well, he doesn't like the
Actually,
only
no,
time we know
we
there's
don't. We see him do the same shit against Gun.
well, yeah, because there's no like relevant experience change. Because like you said, against the OG UI Daniel, he already pretty much either fought all these guys or he has an idea of these guys' moves. I don't know how the fuck like that's probably gonna be explained in the future, but the guy does have like some innate idea of like people's in that area moves and shit, like the strong people, like kings. So he's not gonna gain any more experience for that. But then given he's like he sees or fights or gets like a telepathic connection with Jinrang and sees this fucking overcome move, and does that shit. Like that's something he never did before, presumably. Right? So like that's my issue.
Okay, so you think it's only a meaningful index to attacks he hasn't seen before?
I mean, yeah,
'Cause
because
you
how are
like
you gonna get more experience like fighting
well,
Gun
yeah,
and UI Daniel? They're fighting attacks.
that's what I'm saying. So like for shit he's seen, or like we can verify that he's seen like a bunch of times, and I don't think there's anything more he can gain from seeing it another time. You know?
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's an experience gap there, but what you said later with Gun in the True Eye fight, he just didn't gain any more experience from the last fight because the only thing he saw is literally UI Daniel, who is literally his software but less updated.
What do you mean? No. I'm saying as his fight with Gun progresses, or like from let's say the start of the hostile fight to the YUI fight, right? Like his response to certain attacks is identical. Like when we cross compare them.
Well, that just means that given new experiences, they just wouldn't seem sufficient enough to just override his response to those attacks. It's
Well,
not.
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
like
What would
not
we
all knowledge
attribute
has to
that
change
to?
everything. Well, sorry, not all knowledge has to change how you react. That's the thing.
Well, yes, no, I agree. But then, what do we attribute that to? Do we attribute that to the knowledge being insufficient to garner some sort of new response, or do we attribute that to the verbiage we're granted, where it is, his experiences and responses are perfect?
I just think the first one, the latter.
Why?
Why? Well, because like I said, if you have perfect experiences, my issue with that was initially that if you have perfect experiences, I'm not sure how to add to that without either making the experiences imperfect or, you know, saying that they were imperfect prior to that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when it says he's more experienced, this is not something he's adding to. It's pre-existing experience. The experience he
No, but
already
then how
had
can
was
you? Okay, hold
more
on.
superior to Daniel.
You're saying that the only difference is he's more experienced than Daniel. So and that would be attributed in the fight. Presumably, to me, it looks like to the moves he actually learned from these like guys like Jinrang and Gite. So like I'm confused. Like, what do you think he knew that shit all the time, but he didn't say it. But even though he's literally the same person in the mind as OGUI Daniel, but he has like different software. Like it doesn't make sense to me, dude.
Well, no, he's able to actualize a greater variety of responses and initiations because his superior body.
But no, superior body has nothing to do with your software. That's a major distinction.
Wait, no. It has something to do with the techniques you can perform. Johan's a good example.
Can perform, yes, but we're talking about just software right now, not.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. So even grant that they do have like the same set of knowledge to work from, which I don't even know if that's true because they do really weird shit with Big Daniel. I don't know if that's true, but granting that is true, right? They have the same amount of knowledge to work from, at least at a base level. It could just be the case that this perceived experience gap is just because Daniel can do better responses or better initiations because he has a better body.
I mean, it can be that, but then I'm not sure if we can show that. Or I mean, I'm not sure who. Like, thing is, like, if you're on the affirmative right now, I just say I was winning, and then if I was on the affirmative, I just say you were winning. So that's like I'm gonna have to go back for that because we just like there's sequence interpretation right now. I'm not sure I will go from there. I'm not gonna. Or go from here.
Yeah. Do you want to just leave it at that?
Yep, guys. Good debate, guys. Good debate. Hold on. Easy claps.
Good session.